Well, you're right. I am supposed to be quote unquote impartial. I'll say I don't think I'm impartial, but I always try to be as objective as possible. Hence, being wrong last week and picking USC to win. And I said I'll be happy to be wrong.
Right.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal with that. And I said what I said, and I still believe it. I still stand by it. I said that having the better quarterback is a very big deal, and I still think USC has the better quarterback.
Oh, no
what
doubt.
I didn't account for was him getting his ass beat all day long. I didn't know it was going to be such a major part of the game to have him picking himself up off the ground, play after play after play. And Michigan only had, I say only, I mean, they had 4 sacks. That's decent. That's not like a crazy day. But, dude, they beat Miller Moss up all day long. It was a long day for him back there.
Well, what was crazy was not only did I pick the Wolverines to win, but I think I was pretty close on the score too. We'll have to go back and recap that and, let me know. But to your point, as I was watching the game and we started to get home, I'm like, we got to continue to be, even if he completes passes, get good, clean hits on him, continue to make him pick himself up off the ground. And as that first half continued to progress, you saw that he got a little bit rattled behind his offensive line. The overall quarterback mechanics were a little askew. Now, when you go back and watch the beginning of the third quarter, going into the beginning of the second half, in my opinion, defensively, we got off the gas. And that's when SC started to get a little bit more traction, a little bit of success moving there. And then once we started dialing it up again, we started allowing ourselves to claw our way back into the game. And as I was telling some of the people I was watching the game, we have to play that way throughout. Make the adjustments, but when we come out in that second half, we got to press the gas, especially if our defense is carrying us and is keeping us in the game. Continue to stick with the date that you brought to the dance, because once we got away from that, that's when SC started to get a little bit of confidence and started to work their way back in. And then it actually became a little bit of a nail biter. Whereas going in towards the end of the second half, we were, like you said, putting boot to ass. Their quarterback was picking himself up. The offensive line was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And we were having a lot of success. And by changing that time of possession, I believe that definitely gave us a leg up in that first half. But again, it got flipped in the third quarter. Into the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, we started to dial up the pressure again and started to have some success, which allowed us to put ourselves in the more advantageous position to work our way back into the game.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, in the first half, it was noticeable. It was visible. Miller Moss looked like he Monday morning. Every time he'd kind of drag himself up.
Right.
And, I mean, it was palpable. Like he was sick of getting up off the turf and he was feeling it. And then you're right. I mean, they kind of hit a little bit of a stride in the third quarter and made it again. I haven't even said the final score yet. Michigan wins 27-24. It didn't really feel that close. I'm with you. Like it kind of turned into a nail biter, but Michigan was in control because the way the defense played, the running game was working. We're going to get into some of the stats in a minute and how that looked in Alex Orji's first start and what do we think about him as the guy going forward. But overall on the scoreboard, it was a close game, and there were, a couple things go a little different ways, and maybe, I mean, shoot, man, Michigan had to score on fourth down to take the lead. I mean, it was a nail biter. There's no doubt about it. But Michigan seemed to do enough through the running game and on defense to feel like they were in control of that one, even though it did take a last-minute score to get the win. And I'm with you. I don't know. Yeah, something seemed to change a little bit after halftime to where Miller Moss was a little more comfortable and he started winging it around a little bit more. But at the end of the day, Michigan does win. They've now moved up to number 12 after a nice ranked win where they were the underdog at home. And they're now sitting at 3-1. And this is a game, again, at the beginning of the year was on my list of losable games. And after Texas and then after Arkansas State, I did pick them to lose. I just didn't think they were going to have it. It was going to be Alex Orji's first start. We'll talk about him in just a minute, but he didn't light the world on fire, but he did just enough, I think, in the running game to keep the defense honest, and the running game was very effective. So, I mean, okay, so, we're, what is it, a third? It's crazy. I hate thinking of it that way, but we're now a third of the way through the regular season. How do you grade so far? So not a hugely impressive win against Fresno State, handled pretty well against Texas for the one loss. not very impressive against Arkansas State, and then you get a nice win over USC when most people thought that Michigan might not have enough in that one.
Well, like I said, we're always going to have a boxer's chance, especially as we move through the season. As we spoke about earlier in some previous podcasts, this is not a reload. This is more of a rebuild year for the Wolverines, and we're going to have to temper our expectations as this new iteration of Wolverine football continues to take the field, starting to get those valuable game reps and that seasoning. But I would say overall right now, I give us a solid C, and that's kind of being generous. Again, there's still a lot of question marks. There's still some holes that need to be shored up. I probably moved us to a C from a C minus just based off the win yesterday. We talked about the Fresno and the Arkansas State game. When you look at Arkansas State being beaten handily last week, I forgot who it was, but I thought it was like 56-0, something silly like that. Yet, with us, they kind of sort of made it a game with a blue blood program such as the Wolverines. So as we continue to move forward, you spoke about the quarterback situation and Alex Orji. And again, I think Alex was serviceable, but there are some things from the offensive coordinator aspect of things that just causes me some pause. And I feel that we continue to kind of put that young man in a position of disadvantage when you don't allow him to at least show that he can stretch the field a little bit. I think one of the big things that we were missing last Saturday was our tight ends and our ability to get the ball to the tight end. Are we going to stretch the field with our wide receiver core and this particular receiver quarterback connection this year? Not at this time, not from what I'm seeing. But I do think that we can keep defenses a little bit more honest by making sure that we're getting the ball to our tight ends on crossing routes, get Donovan Edwards out in the flat on some swing passes, let him do his thing, which I think is, as I've said time and time again, he is not a between the tackles runner. That young man is out in space just based off of his track speed.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, that was topic. We're going to get to Orji first, then topic 2 would be the running back situation, and I think you just nailed it. We now know who the between the tackles guy is. That's Kalel Mullings. There's no doubt.
There's no doubt. No doubt.
And you need to use Donovan in different ways. He's not worthless is way too strong of a word, but he needs to be on the field. He needs to be utilized, but just find a way to capitalize on his skills.
He's not built to run I formation. That's not his skill set, in my opinion, from what I've seen of that young man over the last 3 years. Only way that works is that if you have an elite offensive line and you're giving that young man clean holes to get through.
1 foot, go. Yeah,
that's
and not get touched, really. He just threw the gap and go. Yeah.
And number 4 for the Trojans was all over the field. And when you thought that we were really about to break one, it was the shoestring tackles. It was the moment of like, yeah, right? And like we just couldn't get over that hump. And then once we allowed Kalel to, really start to get his rhythm, you saw what that young man was able to do. I was impressed on the long run that he had. I think he actually took that one to the house because I've said time and time again, that young man will hit you triples all day. I didn't necessarily feel like he had the speed to give you that home run to get you to get that house call. But what can we say about the performance that Mullins had that has not already been said over the last 48 hours? You go look at some of the memes that have been put up on social media, and you got the cape superimposed on his back on that last big run that he had to put us in scoring position. So when we look at the quarterback spot, we have to put Orji in a situation that makes him a dual threat. Again, when you looked at SC, they were flooding the box. It was 9, damn near 10 guys down in the box, so to speak, daring you for us to fall back in a 5-7 man drop. Now, what's the other key piece? The other key component to that is offensive line play and our ability to protect him when it's time to pass the ball. I look at our right tackle situation, young man, He got some good key blocks. There was a couple of key blocks that he got on some big runs where he was able to get downfield and got up to the second level. I was really impressed with. But the issue right now is if I'm a defensive coordinator and they being us don't have a tight end lined up to the right side or that back's offset to the right side, for my defensive end, I'm giving him a free go. Our right tackle has not shown the ability to stop a speed rush or to stop a rush with movement. And that's going to be something that when you have what I still consider Orji a relatively inexperienced quarterback.
For sure.
When you don't give him the time to set up and go through his progressions and make him feel rush or hurry, two things are going to happen. He's going to rush the pass, incomplete, or throw a pick, or he's going to break out of the pocket maybe too early when he could have sat there and maybe, bide his time a little bit more and to at least give our receivers a shot to deliver a shot on target. So several things at play, all fixable things. But as I said before, these are the reasons why I'm giving us, and I feel like I'm being generous about giving us a seat overall over the last few games that we've played.
So right tackle Evan Link, just a second-year guy, like you said, young dude, hasn't played before. He'll get better. He's going to get better as the year goes on. But you're right, that's been a little bit of a struggle over there, and just a little house cleaning thing.